Good morning, everybody. I call this technology meeting to order. Today is Tuesday, August 19, 2025, 11 a.m. Can I get a roll call, please?
Covert.
Here.
Berlin. Here. Chaplin.
Here.
Childress.
Yes.
Eckhoff.
Here.
Galassi.
Here.
Oh, whoever Galassi is remote, yes.
Oh, we gotta get her.
Henry.
Here.
Kazmarek.
Here.
Lucas.
Here.
Rutledge.
Here.
White.
Here.
You.
Here.
Next week is my last meeting.
Okay, physical form of the members is physically present. I will entertain a motion to permit those members not physically present due to personal illness or disability, employment purposes, or for the businesses of the board or family or other emergency to participate by video or teleconference. Do I have a motion?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, welcome, member Galassi.
Thank you.
Welcome. All right, on to chairwoman's remarks. I do not have any remarks today. Do we have any public comment?
No.
Okay, no public comment. Moving on to approval of minutes. I entertain a motion to approve the minutes for the Technology Committee regular meeting Tuesday, August 5th, 2025.
Second.
Motion is second. Any corrections or deletions, additions? All right, hearing none. All in favor? Thank you. Moving on to informational items. I entertain a motion to place and receive and place on file 251919 amendment to county contract 60860001 issued to Brightly Software Inc. for annual maintenance edge, help desk and connect event software licensing for facilities management for a change order to extend the contract to November 30th, 2025, and to increase the contract in the amount of $3,935.58, taking the original contract amount of $74,340.34 and resulting in an amended contract total amount not to exceed $78,275.92. I have a motion. I have a second. Any discussion or questions? All right, hearing none. All in favor? Moving on to 6B, I entertain a motion to place and receive on file HSP 004325. Recommendation for the approval of a contract purchase order to Kronos Inc., a UKG company for software support services for the Kronos automated time and attendance system for the DuPage Care Center for the period of September 28, 2025 through September 27, 2026 for a contract total not to exceed $90,980. Not suitable for competitive bids.
Second.
All right, I have a motion, I have a second. Any questions or discussion? All right, all in favor? Thank you. Moving on to our presentation, and we have plenty of time for your wonderful presentation. Anthony, please take it away.
Thank you very much. And thank you to the committee members for allowing me some additional time to continue the discussion on our FY 2026 IT department budget request. Some of the stuff that you've seen last week, but we made some adjustments. So I'll try to, for the sake of time, just highlight the changes. And when I get to the slides that I didn't actually cover, then I'll go through those in more detail. So first slide is, again, our functional chart. I won't go through the layout unless anyone has any additional questions, but I'll highlight some changes. So if you look on the left-hand side under IT staff, for FY 26, we originally asked for 2 additional positions. So our position headcount would move from 65 to 67. We have been working with finance and Nick, and we decided to reduce it to 1. So we're going to try to do more with less. So we are only asking for 1 additional headcount, and you'll see that reflected in the total general fund request that we have. And that's also reflected when you look at the box underneath, and it shows general there are 50 positions in the IT department. Before, when I presented, it was 51. And the bottom, it shows that our current request is 11.1 million, which is down 2.2 million from 2 weeks ago. So 3.4 was our original increase request from 25 to 26. Again, we've worked with, very closely with the finance department to figure out ways to reduce costs, move it to 2025, or eliminate it if possible. Kudos to my staff. We actually went back to a few of our vendors and requested some reductions as well. So we were able to get it down by 2.2 million. That's the only difference. So the request for the general fund is 11.1 million for 2026. For PRMS, Police Records Management System, it remains the same. It's essentially flat. It's a $10,000 increase. And it's down 147,000 on the GIS side. This just shows our variances in a little more detail. Shows again, we're up 2.2, which is 25% of our budget. And the last meeting, it was 38%, so we brought that down some. GIS remains the same, they're 6% down, and PRMS is 0.5% up. Okay, and won't spend any time on this one, so it just shows where our revenues are, which are Adobe licenses and essentially the CJIS money that we charge certain police agencies to access archive police data, and that hasn't changed. Next slide is our expenses.
Just to verify that the CJIS is going to PRMS budget line.
Yeah, we mentioned that last time. The
Yeah.
CJIS is going to PRMS line. That's why you see the reduction in 2025. But thank you, Richard, for pointing it out in 2026. You don't see it anymore under the charges for services, starting in 2025 and then on to 2026, because we moved it to where it should be, which is under police records management. So before we would get the funds, we would put them in the general funds and just apply it to our expenses. That's not really fair. It really does support our police records management system and our police agencies, so we put it there. But thank you, Richard, for pointing that out. All right, in the next slide, the expenses. So I think the biggest change you'll see, there are some slight increases from what we, our current FY 2025 budget, our projected, what we think we'll spend by the end of the year and 2026. But the one that really stands out is other contractual services, which is the second to last line before grand totals. I know that's hard to see there. But that shows that we are up roughly $2 million, 1.4. Oh, next slide. That's right. Yeah. So roughly 1.4. And I'll talk about that in more detail. These are things that are critical to us.
Answers controlling.
Yeah, I'm controlling.
Sorry.
Is there a question?
Well, we were talking about
Oh.
variances and.
Sorry, then I jumped to this one. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah. Is there something on variances you're gonna see again too?
No, I'm good.
Oh, okay. All right, so if you look at other contractual services, that just shows where the meat of the increase is, and I'll show more of the breakdown in a second. But again, the requests and other contractual services are related to two items. One is ARPA funding, which we used during the COVID years, and we received the additional funding from the federal government. We took full advantage of it, and we were able to implement a lot of cyber software that we didn't have before. Unfortunately, that money is no longer available, so we had to shift that money over to operating in order for us to continue to cover it. And the second is for cybersecurity and disaster recovery. Those things are critical, especially after April's cyber incident. We feel that what's in there is absolutely critical for us to move forward as an organization. All right, and the next slide, there it is. This actually shows the three big buckets of where things have changed. Personnel, I mentioned before, but I'll highlight it again. There are 3 staff members who are below market, so we need to bring them up to where they need to be. And then we're requesting 1 new position, a new, we call it a security operations center analyst. That is an industry term. It's a cybersecurity specialist or cybersecurity analyst, someone who can help us watch things around the clock, essentially. And that's what a security operations center does. it's a 24/7, 365 process where we're always looking to see who's trying to break in, right? So this person will help us with our existing, we have only one dedicated cybersecurity person on our team, and now we'll have two. This person will help back up our existing person and just give us a little more breadth in terms of how we support the county and disaster recovery. So that's 325 K. We're down 57,000 from what we originally requested 2 weeks ago. Commodities, it's slight increase, well, 41%. I guess that's not slight. So essentially, the cost here, basically, we reduce our laptop replacement costs, move some of that cost over to FY 2025. So we were able to bring it down significantly from what we requested before. We reduced it by 284,300. We can use FY 2025 funding, thanks to the finance department, to cover that because these are one-time costs. Going forward, though, I want everyone to know that we have to cover replacement laptops and mobile devices. We try to only replace 20% over a 5-year period to get to 100%. We're going to have to do that. In the past, we've been able to use funding at the end of the year or ARPA funding to cover it. And now that also is an expense that's going back into our operating budget. You'll see now moving forward. And then last but not least, again, contractual services is by far the biggest increase. So it's 47%, almost 1.9, almost $2 million request. This again encompasses ARPA 714K. Of this is ARPA funding. We have increases in software, which are standard increases, 5%, but they're really big software packages, Microsoft, Adobe, and Tyler. So the 240K increase there. We originally requested a 370 for us to buy licenses for generative AI products and to provide training for, the majority of the user base. We've scaled that back. So we now have only identified a select number of licenses, and we're going to train the people who are folks who are directly impacted by it now because we had to scale back. But from an AI perspective, AI is here. So we have to invest in AI if we want to move forward as a modern organization. So we've reduced it to 165K from 370, but we think that 165 is important. For proposed cybersecurity and disaster recovery initiatives, we originally requested 1.1. We have reduced it to 780K. It's bare bones. We were asked to really look hard at our budgets to see where we could reduce things by Nick and finance. So we tried our best, but the 780 will give us, will fill in existing gaps and ensure that we have some kind of formal disaster recovery solution in place for technology. So there's a bigger disaster recovery plan that's managed by Craig Diekman and the Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Management. We're aligned with that plan, but this is specifically for technology. So you may hear him talk about disaster recovery as well, but he's meaning, for facilities and all those other things. This is specific to technology. All right, so those are the big increases. As you can see at the bottom right, the total we're requesting is 2.2 versus additional from last year versus the 3.4 that we asked for before. Yes.
Can you do my, we take questions at the end, thank you.
All right, moving on, and this we covered before, but I'll cover it at a high level. We changed the percentages because our budget changed, but essentially all of our increases can be captured under these categories: protecting current operations by shifting opera funding, buying our annual laptops to replace out-of-date laptops or devices that need to be replaced. Excuse me. And then the normal increase in cost of major software like Microsoft, Adobe, and Tyler, thank you, is included there. Second category is strengthening security and resilience, which we talked about a couple of times, cybersecurity disaster recovery solutions. And then last is just efficiencies. We believe that in the long run, AI will provide the county with a way to replace manual processes and human error with technology. It will not replace jobs anytime soon. So just want to make sure I underscore that. I get asked that question on a regular basis. When is it going to replace jobs? It's not. Right now, it's not what it's meant to do, but it's meant to enhance what we currently do, allow the people who are subject matter experts to really focus on their subject matter expertise versus monotonous type activities, right? Things that can be done by bots will be done by bots. All right, and then moving on to our new initiatives. This I won't spend a lot of time on. It just highlights the importance of cybersecurity, the SOC, which I talked about before, Security Operations Center, and disaster recovery. So we'll get this out to you, a copy of it. You can look at more detail and ask me questions. But those are critical things that any major organizations the size of ours should have from an IT perspective. And then this also shows the cost of inaction, us not moving forward. It shows that we save a lot of money by investing now versus being reactive in the future. And then last but not least, this also shows the cost of inaction, highlighting what we're doing with Opera, disadvantages of not using AI, and basically shows that we did an assessment, and based on our assessment, at a minimum, if we don't have these things in place, we could get hit with a $10 million cost. We're just asking for 2.2 to ensure that we don't get hit with the $10 million increase. All right, so that's it for the general fund. Moving on to GIS and PRMS, starting with GIS. This one's quite simple. You guys have seen it before. Essentially, there's a decrease in our budget, and I'll highlight it why in a second, but it's 6.7%. Thing to remember about the GIS funding is it's budget neutral, so it's not part of our general fund, because there is a GIS fee associated with real estate transactions that's collected by the recorder's office. Thanks to the board members here, it was increased from $21 per transaction to $31 per transaction, and we're already seeing a huge benefit to that. So before we were underwater and we were dipping into our reserves in order to cover our operating expenses every year. This year, we're not going to have to do that. And next year, we will have a little additional so that we can do some of the projects that we've been holding back for the last couple of years. So you'll see that. So it shows right now the data that revenues are up by 53% in June and July, based on that increase from 21 to $31. All right. And basically, this just shows the revenues for GIS and shows that in 2022, we're about 3.6 was what our final budget was, but the actual was 2.2, so it was down significantly, excuse me, that year. In 2023, thank you, was 1.7, and 2024, 1.6. So it's going down, but it really should be closer to the 3.6 that we asked for in 2022. And 2026, we see it, based on the current projections, we see it rising back up to 2.6, and we hope, over the next couple of years, we'll get back to 3.3, based on additional real estate transactions, as well as the increase in the actual fee. But this basically shows that we project that our revenues will be at 2.7 million next year versus 1.6 in 2025. And these are, excuse me, the expense breakdown, for GIS. Nothing that really stands out. It's pretty consistent. We've kept it consistent over the years. No major changes unless anybody wants to focus on any. The salaries, benefits, commodities, rentals, all about consistent over the past 4 or 5 years. All right, and then here's the variance breakdown for GIS specifically. So it shows changes in salary splits between IT and GIS. I want to highlight that for this group so that you're aware of what that means. So in the past, there are certain resources like myself and others who spend time with GIS So a portion of our salaries are actually covered under GIS. That helps alleviate the costs on the IT, the general fund side. We went through and made sure we realigned it. It had been the way it was for a long time, but it wasn't accurate. So now it's actually accurate and very consistent in terms of the amount of time we spend is charged to GIS versus not, and what's charged to the general fund versus what's not. So by shifting that, we're actually able to bring down the GIS budget by 14.9%. So that's why it's a decrease there. They have slight increases in commodities, which is really just buying new hardware, workstations, and a printer. And then contractual service slightly up. It's the 6%. You'll see across the board in enterprise applications, anywhere from 5 to 15% is the increase. I try my best to push the vendors to stay around 5%. In this case, Esri went up by 6%. And you'll see that again across the board. This is probably too much information, but I'll still share it with you all. And most software companies, before you could buy a package of software, you could keep it forever and only pay for maintenance when you needed it. That's not the case anymore. They now force customers to subscribe to their software, meaning that you always have to pay. And then they charge these increases over time. And you can't do much about it. So it's a model that's being applied across the board. All right, moving on to DuPage or PRMS, DuPage Integrated Justice Information Systems. And our RMS system falls underneath that bigger umbrella, but basically, this is also revenue neutral. We have currently 31 police agencies that are part of our consortium. They all pitch in and contribute to the overall cost of the budget. Nothing comes out of our general budget to cover those expenses, including staff, are all paid through this. So 1,931,000 is what our FY 2026 budget is. The request is, it was 1,921,000 last year, so roughly up 9,505 round up, and only 10K percentage there, so not much of a change. We try to keep this lean as possible, and for PRMS, we're going through some kind of major changes. We hope will bring down the cost long-term. Number one, we're currently going through an RFP for a new system, which will start to implement in 2027. All 31 of the agencies are involved. They'll help us select what's the best system out there. Our current system, Hexagon, is a industry leader globally. But I think the agencies are looking to modernize and connect things to other applications. Like there's a product called Axon, which a lot of agencies use for their body cameras and their tasers. They kind of want to integrate with those other products. And that's what we're going to look at to see what other products do that out there. And then the second one, we're doing a major software upgrade in the space. So a lot of changes positive changes going on in the PRMS space. And then here are the variance breakdown for PRMS. As you can see, personnel, slight change, a little over 1%, commodities, 3%, which is only $60, not much of a difference there. Contractual services, they're actually down. I worked with Leonard Zerwin, the executive director of ETSB, to negotiate reduction in the Hexagon contract, and we were actually able to bring it down slightly. So it's reflected here, a huge reduction, but it's an additional 1% this year. They'll be saved, and then equipment replacement fund, which most of you may not be aware of. So the agencies put aside a percentage of money in anticipation of an upgrade of that system or replacement of that system. So instead of doing a one-time cost, which would cost them a tremendous amount of money, they spread it across 5 or 10 years? 7 years. Thank you, Don. Don is our PRMS manager. 7 years, they actually spread the costs across 7 years. So every year they pay a percentage. 2.5 is the increase this year to ensure that they have the money to replace the system or upgrade it after it gets to end of life. So as you can see, the total increase is 0.5%. So that concludes the presentation part. of this discussion, I'd like to open up to questions.
Member you.
Drink some water, sorry.
I always appreciate the technology department's presentation, the fact that you guys go through all the variances and really explain everything, that's great, and it also, I think, prevents a lot more questions, I would say. I just had a really quick, thought was, I had heard that Adobe's prices were kept going up, and I know that we always use Adobe, but I did think there were also other, alternatives to it. Like recently I heard of Foxit, and I wasn't sure if that was more affordable, if that would be even, an option to consider in the future, just because, as you were saying, the prices keep going up, and I know Adobe is expensive, just a thought.
I think it's a great question and just a couple of answers. Number one, I think that our prices are fairly reasonable. So we use basically a contract, a GSA type contract out there, and they get the best pricing. They're able to negotiate their pricing because they're using numbers for various different agencies, right? And they negotiate very well with Adobe, so it's pretty lean from that perspective. Number two, what we do here to keep the cost down is the team looks every year at who's using different products, and we go through a true-up process. So if people are not using it, we actually get rid of the licenses. If there are folks who aren't using and they need to use it, we increase it, so we throttle the cost. So I think overall, we're managing it pretty well. The third thing is that in the future, that is definitely something we'll look at when we get that tight. What you lose when you do that is consistency in terms of management, right? So if you bring in a different product, we then have to bring in a different subject matter expert to figure that product out and figure out how to support the people and implement it. Right now, we have consistency and support. Our techs, all 7, 8 of them, understand Adobe and how to troubleshoot it. When there's a user who has a problem, they can answer it and address it quickly. If we have a different product, we have to figure that out and then apply it. And then have different layers of expertise with indirectly increase our costs in terms of support. Because we have to bring in different people to support different products. Everyone, so another misnomer is that IT people know everything about IT. They don't. They have subject matter areas that they have to learn, and through experience, they get better. They don't know everything. And if we add more, we have to either bring people in who know that expertise or train the existing people on it. Folks, so it increases it could increase the price. Last part, number 4, and then Richard has one. Compatibility. Adobe is very compatible with most other products, and we can easily integrate it with our forms and other things. Those other products we would have to test and see if they actually integrate with our existing products.
Yeah.
Yeah. So did you want to add?
Yeah, just another point of how we're looking to make sure the costs are down is we're actually looking at their final renewal term. And we've gone back to them asking, does it make sense to enter into a brand new long-term agreement and have that price locked in for another, up to 6 years, it's basically 3 and 3. We are continuing to negotiate with Adobe and see how we can bring that cost to
The only reason why I brought it up was because I was having issues with Adobe in the sign in and verification, like it kept coming up, and it was like, apparently it was like a ticket that kept happening according to your IT help desk people. And so that's why I was like, are there other alternatives? And I actually had to uninstall Adobe entirely just because there were those issues. Anyway.
Can I mention something along that lines? We
Yes,
were having
Margaret.
problems in the coroner's office with Adobe also, and the link breaking. And this fine young man can tell me the name of the product we use now. So we only have Adobe Pro, like on a couple of our laptops because of that.
Yeah.
And we have used, IT did take our Adobe off and are using another service. Do you remember? Is it okay? Yeah, so, yeah, so we did that in the coroner's office.
Yeah, so that's why it was just on my mind. Thank
Yeah,
you.
it's a good question.
Any other questions? Great. Well, I thought that was a very detailed budget presentation.
Thank you. I went over again. Sorry
Yes,
about that.
I want to thank you for that. And thank you so much for presentation. And with that, do we have any old business? Do we have any new business? Okay, well, I'll entertain a motion as adjourned. We are adjourned. Thank you.